quite a few signups, but not sure who will really join. So yeah, let's not wait any longer. Whoever tries late, your fault. First of all, thanks for joining, guys. Reason for this course basically is, well, I did quite a few liveries in the past, and quite a few people reached out to me during off season and asked if I could do a livery for them. And I thought, well, maybe just do some knowledge transfer, do some basic course, and let you guys also do something on your own to to relieve my work basically. But I honestly have no idea what your experience with liveries is. I've never done a course before. I'm not a YouTuber or whatever, so bear with me. It's the first time, and probably it won't be perfect, but I think you will get the basics later on for to do your own livery. Maybe before we start, just to gauge the interest, or well, let's say to get an idea about your proficiency level with liveries. I will let's see if the poll works. I prepared a quick poll in here where you can basically vote just to get the get from you an idea. What's your idea for the liveries? And okay, intermediate, Christian is a pro. Yes, this I know. All right, but also basic, what's the livery? Okay, so I will do also some groundwork, so to say, and tell you how you can create a car, where you can find your files, and so on and so forth. Let me just share my screen at the beginning here. Screen, let's see if this works. Briefing room and go live. So you should be able to see my screen right now. Okay, maybe just if you have really no idea how to start with a livery, very quick. I made two screenshots beforehand just to show you where you can add a car. So you go into your ACC, you go on the car selection, and there next to the customize is the add. You select the car which you want to add. They already prepared something. You enter a car number, you enter a team name, everything else what you want to do here, and then hit save. So this is really just to get a custom car basically in the game, and we will see later on what it does. Or well, not later on, let's just take a look right away. What it does is it creates a file in your documents, ACC custom cars folder. I did this, you can see around lunchtime today. You will see a new JSON file. This is basically what's being created by the game itself, car number, date, timestamp, and if you open it up, you see everything that's specifying the car here, like the colors you selected earlier, your race number, team name, and one important part, what you need to do to get a custom livery is to provide a custom skin name, because this is basically the folder where all of our custom files are in. Otherwise, you will just get the in-game colors from the game, which you can specify in here or via the GUI. To do this, also in liveries, you can ACC customs liveries is the folder you need to go in. You can create any folder name you like. These are all synced from the Awesome Sim Racing here, from the liveries you subscribe to. So not all of them are mine. I just selected one here or created one for the Era Livery class, which is currently still empty, and we will fill it later on. What's important is in your custom file, you specify this folder name. So you know, okay, this car later on will use this folder. You save this, and we are good to go. So this is really the groundwork to get the folder structure set up so you can create a custom livery. I'm not sure who took a look in the general chat. I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday. This I think Christian asked the question about which tools do we need. So you don't need to follow along here live. But I posted 4 links, which I quickly wanted to show. So what I'm doing is I'm doing all my libraries in Blender, blender.org. So you can download it here. And I'm using one add-on. You can either download it from the extensions.blender.org. As said, the links are all pinned in general chat. get the add-on here or do it via Blender itself. Doesn't matter. This add-on will really help tremendously later on with layering the car, getting the visibility right and stuff like this. You will see it. So this is what I heavily use. And then you've never done a livery before. What you will need is the 3D objects of the cars itself. This is the third link I posted. It's just a zip file you can download from Google Drive, which includes all the 3D models. And the fourth link is basically additional resources. You will find PSD files if you want to do something in Photoshop for the different car classes. Paint values, we'll come to this later on. This is like the finish of the car, metallic or glossy or whatever it is. It's all done via JSON files, some country flags and some sponsor logos you can use on your cars. So it's just useful stuff to have. Okay, this is for the basic downloads. And if you do have any questions, you can just type them in the chat. I will take a look from time to time here. Not sure if I can follow it along all the time. Otherwise, Christian can also take a look. And
Yeah, if somebody wants to ask something, either just type it in chat, I'll read it out for him, or raise your hand to speak on the stage. I'll
exactly.
then
So I don't want to do a monologue here.
pull you in.
So if you have questions, really raise your hand, speak up, and let's have this interactive here. Okay, Blender. If you have ever touched Blender before, you might have seen basically some videos of how to set up Blender. So first of all, if you open up Blender, you're greeted with a empty space here, nothing to see. And Blender is really, really useful. We are only using a tiny fraction of it. So we will come to this later on as well. But really, it's powerful tool which we won't use. I've also never before touched this, so I'm not coming from a graphical background or design background or whatever, or 3D modeling, so I purely use this for liveries. I have no idea what else you can do with this. But if you have watched some videos, I just opened up an old file for me. You might have seen a method where you create some files, you connect them, you name base, diesel, sponsor, mix them up via color channels, factors, and whatever it is. There are videos out there. It takes like 15 minutes to set everything up. So it's really kind of a big mess. And I think the one add-on we will use in this course really helps to get everything set up way quicker. So I just took this as an example because this was one of my first liveries I did in Blender and I followed this method and it was quite painful. You don't have to do this. So as said, if you install Blender, what you just have to make sure is you install the add-on, go to your preferences in the add-ons, the user paint or user paint, not sure how to pronounce it correctly, but it should be there. Make sure the check mark is there. If it's not installed, you usually can search for it also via the preferences and install it right away from here. You don't have to go via the website, just a second way. Install it and you're good to go. You won't see anything up here. You will have this very small triangle on the right-hand side where you can expand, and there you will find it. We will come to this in a second. This is not there if you haven't installed the add-on. Maybe Blender in general. Taking a quick look on what we will use, it will start in the layout mode. We won't use the layout mode. What we want to do is we want to do the texture painting later on, and we will use two from these sections on the right-hand side. So really just very, very minimized. Okay, as that, for mouse wheel, of course, is it's empty right now. What we want to do is we want to open a file. We want to work on a car. So don't go to open. We will import something. We will import an OBJ file. The first important step. And this is the third link I posted before. Oops, sorry. 3D templates. This is the zip file you can download. It includes all the cars which are currently in game. And what we will pick for today is Aston Martin. You open the OBJ file, import it, and it's not there. Why? We just have to zoom out. So it is there. It's just don't get confused. Zoom out. It's there. First step, you will always see, it looks kind of messy. Right click, do some shade smoothing. Okay, way better. Now we'll go away from this layout. We'll go to texture painting. Because what we want to do is we want to paint on the car. That's the whole purpose of this course here. To get everything set up finally, we will do 3 more steps. First of all, I will make the painter bigger so I don't have to take a look at the chat all the time. First of all, we click next to the texture paint, the small box. We will add a paint mask to our car. Everything will go not less colorful. That's fine for now. And we will select the viewport shading. And last but not least, we will use our add-on. We click on this small arrow, use to paint. Make sure that the material is set to the car paint. There are, I think, 2 or 3 OBJ files where the default is not the car paint, and you might wonder what's going on. Why can't I do what Matthias told us? Just make sure that material is the car paint and not the, I don't know, mechanics or whatever is also included in the file. And then we want to have a node set up. Only the color, deselect everything else. We just are worried about the color right now. Hit OK, and we're good to go. This is everything you need to get prepared. This video setup I told you before, this node setup, connecting lines, whatever, you don't need any of this. Really, this is all you need to do to get started. What I personally like to do is to give the model a different color, which is not present or just which stands out later on in delivery. So you know which parts of the car are not painted, because right now we don't have any paint on. And this is basically shining through later on. And you can see what is really standing out. To work with Blender, maybe also very quick, you need on your keyboard basically only 4 keys, which are important throughout the whole tutorial, which is Control, Shift, and then the A and L, because A is selecting all the individual UV components of the car. You can see it in here. Everything is selected. If I hit A, if I hit A twice, everything is unselected. And the L is selecting individual parts of the car. So this we will use this quite often throughout the tutorial. Middle mouse button is then just moving the whole model. You can select the L with individual things, double A, and everything is unselected. All right. So this is really, we have the model here. We want to paint on it now. I'd say let's start simple. And we want to have here we see the layers. We want to add a new layer because we want to work with layers. This is really, really powerful later on. You can keep it simple. Its default livery has the diesel.png file later on and the sponsors. You can do this, but you can also have like 10 individual layers in here and just merge them afterwards later. We will create a new image for now. Just call it base because you want to have a base color for this car. Leave everything else on default. It's fine and hit OK. From a tool perspective, we will only use the draw, the pencil in here, and the fill. Everything else, clouding, smear, soften, we won't use it all. We won't touch it. And if you want to draw the car, you will see it's not working. Why? Because I haven't selected anything. You can see it on the left-hand side. You can always see what's selected of the car. Also here, nothing is really, really bright and the bright green. Hit A. You can see everything now is selected, and I can paint on the car. It's automatically represented on the left-hand side, whatever I do. Control C, just undo like any other program in Windows. Um, from a from a drawing perspective, what's important to note is you have a brush. So brush, you know it from any other program, can have different sizes. You can change the radius over here. You can have it really big. You can have it small. You can edit everything up here. And for us, what's important is the fall off, because by default, you have these blurry edges. You can see if It's towards the edge of my circle. It's getting green again. And especially if you want to paint on later on some stencils, some sharp lines, this might not be what you want. And you can change this by the fall off. And just to show you some different fall offs, just go there, click there, you see they're quite different. And the last one, it's really the sharp one, get the very, very sharp circle, which is what you will usually use probably. So it's a good practice to go to fall off right away. Select the very last one, or you can also change this in here if you want. By default, it's something like this. Make sure everything is black and you have these sharp lines on your car. Undo everything. We will come back to the stroke later on if you want to paint lines or some curves on our car. For now, it's really just keeping the mouse button pressed, painting on the car. All right. So first of all, let's go very simple. We want to have a car with one base color, which is not the green, but something else. So what we can do is we can do it by two ways. Either go to the fill tool, select a color, don't know, go with pink, select everything with A, click on the car model. You can see on the left-hand side, everything that's selected is automatically filled. It's not super nice because Blender sometimes is mirroring out a bit. I know that Ike, for example, this is one of the topics which he likes to say, yeah, Photoshop is way better because you won't get this. But in the end result, you won't see these lines which are next to any of these UV car parts. So either select everything, hit the fill tool, or if you just go back, what you can also do is you can just, on the left-hand side here, fill the whole picture. Everything is in this pinkish color and it will be represented on the right-hand side. Now this is what many people do, and what you will see later on is that the car will look a bit weird if it's fully pink or a full color. Why is this? Because every car has some parts which should not be painted. It's not really visible on the 3D object which are these parts, but if you're taking a look, maybe on the screenshot very quick, let's go back to the screenshot I was shown earlier. You can see, for example, here around the window, this is just left in carbon. Uh, on the front window, it's also carbon. Then we have the splitter, then we have the sides. And if everything is painted in a color, it just doesn't look good. So what you can do is then either, I will unselect everything. You can select the individual parts you want to paint and hit the bucket fill, which is okay. You can do this, but we will do it another way because we want to reuse this later on. We fill the whole car with one color, and the really powerful tool is a mask on top of the color. What is a mask doing? We are adding a new mask, and this is basically saying which parts should really use the color we defined in the other picture. We first of all we say fully transparent. So everything is gone. We got a new picture, which is called mask for our base layer. It's all black. And now we will fill this, our white color, and everything which is white, just make this fully white. Everything we select here with white, I again select these tools, these parts with L, and I click, and only these on the left hand side it will get white, and the color which is defined below in the base layer will shine through. Right now, if we only have one color, you will say, yeah, but what is it good for? It's just additional work. But you will see later on, if you're working with gradients or patterns, this is getting really powerful. So let's just select the parts we want to have color on in our car. And I will leave the mirrors out. I will leave the window frames out. This should be good for now. Okay, let's go maybe these two panels as well. I think I'm happy for now. So you can see on the left-hand side, everything that's in white is getting our color. Also here we can switch from the white masked layer to our pink layer. You can see, okay, the pink itself is on way more parts, but the white part is defining which parts are really getting our base color. I select A for everything just to check it out. If everything is solid, does it look good? I think for the demo it'll work. Maybe we want to make some adjustments here, and we can do this manually. We can select the pencil on the left-hand side or the drawing tool and say, yeah, maybe I want to have, um, wait, I switch colors over here very quick. I want to have the black color. I don't want these flat in white or in pink, so just mark them in black because I didn't select them on the other side. Now it's looking good again. So you can also paint over here. If I look on the hood, you can paint some dots and they will just appear on the right hand side as well, where the base color is not shining through. So now if we want to have another base color, what we can do is just select the whole car. Say, yeah, okay, now we want to have it in, I don't know, in red. Fill everything, okay, in red. And even though the whole car itself is filled, we don't have to select the individual panels again because our mask is overlaid already. So if you make up your mind afterwards and say, yeah, I want to change something, and the mask is coming in really handy. It also comes in really handy if you don't want to work with a single base color, but with a gradient, which is also working pretty or which is pretty simple in Blender itself. Now maybe very quick for colors itself. On the right hand side, I didn't tell it before, but we will mostly work in this tool section where you have a color picker. You can pick the individual colors. You can adjust something later on for textures, and we will work with the texture thing in here. Also for the fill tool, color gradient, we have a color palette. Usually it's good idea to, if you are working with a livery, you will reuse the same 4, 5, 6 colors all the time. And to not select them all the time individually, you will never match them again. Add them to an existing color palette. So there is already a default one, has some colors preset. If you are like me, you're not coming from a graphical background. What I found really useful, there is one site which is called color-hex.com, where you can also find some popular color palettes. For example, if you say, yeah, I want something blue, which is really going well together, or I don't know, a retro, what are retro colors, whatever. These are always 5 colors which go very well together, which will help you later on with your livery just to look kind of nice. And for example, I just for this demo, I took this City Sunset color palette. What you can do is you have the hex codes in here. You take this one out, go over here, select this hex color, paste it. You get this exact color. With a plus, you can add it down here. And to save us some time, I already prepared this. Always a good idea to add black and white, because as you have seen earlier, we need this, for example, for the masks. Adding something, removing something with black and white. Also for the applying sponsors, for example, later on. And then I just added these 5 colors. Okay, we were coming from the base color. Base color right now is just one color. Maybe we want something more fancy, so we can add a gradient. By default, there are 2 color subs from black to white. Let's just add 2 more, and we click on this and say, okay, the first would be orange. We go from there to there to there, and move them around here for the position. I would just distribute them evenly from the left, and then draw a line over the car. And what it does is it automatically adds this gradient to the car. from the beginning of the line to the end of the line. And you can see on the left-hand side, all the individual parts are colored differently. This is really, yeah, it's hard to do this in Photoshop, for example, because you will never get this transitioning of the individual panels right, I think. You can also draw short lines. What you will see is, okay, the whole gradient, the first color, starting where the line starts, and it's ending where the line ends. We can also have a really sharp transitioning with this, or if you move to the top, from the left to right, or whatever. And you will see our paint mask, which we defined earlier, the white and black, it's all still there. So only the parts which we defined earlier are painted, which comes in really handy if we are talking about gradients, because if I want to recolor something later on, I make up my mind and say, okay, yeah, maybe I want this part down here also painted, or I want this not painted, or whatever it is. I can change this easily via the mask, and the colors are automatically there. So let's just go to the mask very quick and show you. Let's add something. For example, I don't know here, we want to have color edit like there. Ah, no, I did it wrong. I did it in purple. Sorry. I have to select color. Of course, I don't want to fill this with a gradient because we're working on this white black layer. I want to fill it with a solid white. Only select the items we want with L, fill it, and oh, now it's colored, but not in one color, but automatically with a gradient. So you can easily add and remove this later on if you're working with a paint mask. If you would say, yeah, I do it manually, I edit, it's really hard to do afterwards. So make your life easy and do it right away with a mask. You can use it later on as well. So we have a gradient now. This, like, oops, sorry, wrong. We will, now you see what I did? I had the mask selected. You will always paint on what you see on the left side. And what I did now is typical failure. I added something to the paint mask. This is not what we want to do because this is really messing up our livery. We want to work on the base layer, which we defined earlier, and add a gradient in here. Something like this. That'll do for the demo. We can also add some patterns later on to the base layer, but we will come to this. Okay, I'll do a 10-second break, drink something. Are there any questions up until now? Okay. Then let's go on. What's also really typical for cars is you want to paint on some lines. This can be anything. We will use our drawing tool. Just select a color, for example, the yellow one. And what you can do is either you can paint on directly some lines over here. Right now I can do it like this, so it's not a line for us. We want to change something. We want to change the stroke from a method space to method line. And then we can paint on some lines, either on the left-hand picture, so to say. You will find this then in here, which is good if you want to do something really, really small, like follow a line down here, add a small accent, make a small radius. This will work out really well, like something like this, going down there. So if you want to really detailed, you can work on the left-hand side. But if I say, yeah, for example, I want to add I don't know, 2 racing stripes to my car, what I would do is unselect everything first of all and only select where you want to paint on, because maybe you don't want to paint on these carbon parts, because remember, the green will be unpainted later on, Maybe you don't want to overlay this with your with a stripe. So double click A to unselect everything. Select the parts you want to have your stripes on, for example, like this. Scroll a bit, and you can have one stripe. Okay, one stripe. It's nice. It's represented on the left-hand side as well. But what would be even better if it's symmetrical? So you can easily do this if you select it on the over here, symmetry on the x-axis. Um, just going out of, let's select this. And if I do it like just like I don't know, just on the hood, automatically in a symmetrical shape, where we will add the lines. If I add something like over here, we have raised stripe. If it's in the middle, it'll just go a bit wider probably, but it's also there. Now what I didn't do is select this down here because I wanted to show something. You will see I selected everything. I draw the line over here. The spoiler itself is not selected, so it won't get painted. But even there, okay, this obviously was hidden somewhere. So my line is not there. And what we can do is we go back. There are two options in Blender itself under the paint tool, under options. It's like how the tool is working. We have the occlude and backface culling. These options are for, yeah, the tooltip already says it. It's only painting right now until the face is directly under a brush. So if you want to paint something which is not directly under a brush, for example, on the doors, you always have the multiple layers. It's a bit hard to see. But here, for example, you have the outside layer, and then there is the inside layer as well, which is like over here. It doesn't make sense to color this in this example, but there might be something where you say, yeah, I want something, want to color something which is not directly under my brush. Just remove this, or I want to also paint on the back side of my panel. By default, you're not doing this. You're only painting on the side of the panel, which of the car which is facing you. But maybe I want to paint also on the other side. If I just unselect both of them, might already look a bit better because it's also painting on the back side and on the side which is yeah, is the face not directly under the brush. Not perfect, so you have to redo it, of course, here, but you get the idea. Now this might not be very nice. We can also delete something. By default, we are mixing our colors, but we can also erase something. And we can just draw a line down there. Oops. Okay, now I know why it is not working, because we are still working on our base layer. We are deleting our gradient, and we were applying our lines on top of the gradient, which is not what we want, because if you want to do some corrections to the lines, just like we want to do now, we don't want to do, we will want to erase everything. The base layer should remain the same. So let's go back. I will just do my gradient again. This in the base layer. Now everything should be gone from a lines perspective. And I will add another layer. I will call this lines. And I can paint my lines easily on this new layer. You won't see any difference right away. Oops. Sorry, go back. I didn't select only the parts I wanted to paint on. Just do it like this. So it's just for the demo purposes like this. Now, if I want to do some corrections, and we want to, first of all, maybe another color there to get rid of the gaps. And then we see, oh, okay, we made a mistake. We want to correct something. We can erase our alpha layer. Alpha is always the colors we're painting. And if we're erasing something now, like let's say, yeah, we don't want this down here, we are only doing this on the lines layer, not on our base layer. So our base layer will stay untouched, which is really nice. If you say, yeah, okay, I want to do some corrections on top of something else. The eye can just be enabled, disabled for visibility purposes, so you see easily what each layer is doing. I can also work on the base layer here, base model, without any gradient or whatever it is. Okay. Let's go smaller again, and let's go to the mix. So this was for lines. If I only select, for example, this door, and I draw a line over here, you will notice this line is on this side. And right now, it's not on the other side, even though I have this symmetry X checked. Why? Because this is not selected, and Blender will only paint on the selected parts. So I have to make sure if I want to mirror something that all parts which need to get painted are selected. Just undo this stripe here to show. So now both doors are selected, and I can draw my stripes, and it's mirrored on the other side as well. So we are not painting the whole car. So over here, this is where we said we want to paint a line. Initially, we had the space where we could like freeform. And the third really good option or useful option is the curve, where if you click on something here, nothing is happening. But you can see on the very low left-hand side, you can select a curve point, you can pan the view, light paint a curve point. If I hit Control, this changes. No, hit Control 1, image paint, zoom view, and add curve point and slide. We want to add some curve points. So if you hit Control, this changes. You hit Control down there, and you add a point. You hit a point there, and add another point there. I think I added 2 down there by accident. Just do it again. 2, 3 points. And if you select this point and you hit Shift and right click, you can draw these nice curved lines. For example, I want to paint along here. I want to have my color following the edge here. Something like this. This should work out. The line should go from here to here, down there. It will go in a 20 pixel wide. So if I make this very wide, you won't see any changes down here. But there's always something to be aware about. So if I have a very wide radius over here and I hit enter now, you will get a very wide line. Whereas if I undo this, say yeah, let's do a light 8 pixel, just a small line. You can see, okay, I have my line and my curve. So this can be really any curve, any point. You can move anything around here. You can add some more points if you want to add more curves to your car. Really depends on your livery. But curves are also quite useful, especially if you want to follow something like this here. Yeah. Okay. So we talked about lines. Also for lines, the follow, of course, applies. If you want to have soft lines, you can do it like this. Stroke just a line to show it to you. It will be way softer edges. So it doesn't only apply to your individual freehand brush, but also to lines if you want to have soft lines on your car. Okay. So you have your base livery or your gradient on the car. You have some lines on your car. What you will usually need is some sponsors, or add whatever it is as a pattern on it. For this, we go to the texture layer over here, and we are adding a new texture. Click there, I open something, and this is where our other download we had before comes in handy. Oops, in ACC skin templates, there are these sponsor logos, and there is a handful of sponsor logos you can reuse. Of course, you can download anything from the internet, but this is just like a motorsport filtered, whatever it is. It's a sponsor collection, which makes your life quite easy at the beginning. So just select something, it's automatically in the preview here, and we want to use this as a stencil to apply on the car. We go back to the tool. We have this automatically, if we are on the drawing, this is also something, it's not present in the fill, only if we are on the pencil here, we have the texture, and we see in the preview our, our sponsor we just selected. Not coming up over here because we need to change the mapping. Mapping has to be a stencil. And you can already see now it's over here. Okay, right mouse click, I can move this. It's looking a bit weird, a bit stretched. So we can change the image aspect just to reset this. It's better, but I want to resize this. And for this, I hit Shift, right click, and I can resize this to whatever I want. I also want to turn this around a bit because I don't want to have it perfectly straight, but I want to have it a bit going diagonal across the car. If I hit Control and right mouse, I can circle this around. So Shift is changing the size, Control changing the angle. Now if I want to apply this sponsor to my car, do like this. I just paint over it. If you paint over it, it takes the color you have selected. So make sure if you want to have the logo with the color you selected, like this one is white. If I paint over, the radius a bit bigger to make it easier, and I had the line selected, but doesn't matter. It will be yellow because my color right now is yellow. Make sure if you want to have it in white, that you change the color to white or over here. That's why I said white preset is always good to have in the color palette. Change this again to space so I can reform over it or draw over it. My sponsor is on the car, and because I have everything selected, you can see on the left-hand side, every UV map is selected, and I have the mirroring on. Sponsor is also available on the other drawer. But of course, it's mirrored, so it's not automatically changed to the right direction. So we want this to be correct, of course. So what can we do? There are basically multiple options. Let's say we will use. I will show you two. First of all, if we want to paint this on, we just paint it on. On the other side, we changed it bar. We can align this sponsor to overlay how we want it to look. But now we need to delete what's below. And we made another error. We shouldn't paint on the lines layer. Let's just undo it because it's the first sponsor. We should add us another layer for the sponsors. This will come in handy if we are painting our sponsors over the lines, because then we can change them individually. If I would just paint them on the lines layer, I can't change the lines underneath easily. But if you have just another layer with sponsors visible, you can just check, uncheck, either there or not. Back to the sponsors. We wanted to paint it on the door. So it's there, it's mirrored. Align it, hit Control, align like it should be. I don't want to resize it because this size is already correct. So I just hit Control and align it. But now I want to delete what's underneath. And to do this, I only want to delete this side. I uncheck the mirroring, the symmetry, and I select Erase. If I do it like this, if I keep the texture selected, it will only erase what's under the texture. So I also have to quickly get rid of the texture, and then I can erase it. My fall off is incorrect. See, I've seen this the right away because if I was drawing over it, it wasn't really sharp edges, but it's fine for now. And now I can select my texture again, and it will be in the exact same spot where I left it before. I can mix it on. Now it's correct. This is working okay. You can even do this more simple. Say I want to have it, for example, I put it on there. You can unselect the lines at the base layer, and also the screen. You can make it transparent if you click on the color channel and say, okay, my green is my alpha. So it's really not visible anymore. You will see if I move the mouse around, yeah, it still looks like the car might be underneath. Not really visible with only two sponsors, but maybe if you take a look at the lines as well, there I just can't see it. And if I want to paint on the sponsors, I can just change the sides, place it right over there. Because I'm sure just on the other side, paint over it. I would show everything again. You'd see it's in the perfect spot. So it's just like easily mirroring the logos. If you want to do, if you have like 5 or 6 logos, paint them on this side, and then just make sure you only have the sponsors layer visible, let it shine through. Make sure you click on the X just to see really through the car and align it like you want it. Now, let's see what time says. 9:15. We have a few minutes left. All right. Let's just select everything again so we can see our nice car.
Do the export into game. I think that's very important.
Yeah, we will definitely get there. I have one more point, and then we will do the export. I think I added a few textures over here. Yeah. You can also have big textures and paint them on the car. Like this one here, where is it? Image aspect. If you don't see something, it looks a bit weird. Reset transform image aspect. Where is it? Now I'm a bit lost. Not visible. Sometimes it's a bit open it up
The
again.
questions arose if you can add some graphics like flames or anything.
You can add the flames. You have to download them before, so they are not in here. If you add them, I will just show you, for example, some sample liveries. I don't know what I do for Shimon. Like, I don't know, this weird cat he wanted to have here can also be a flame. It has to have a transparent background, and then you can just open it up here via the texture. Open. Let's take this cat here and paint it on the hood. Texture draw, paint it over. So this could also be a flame. And if you want to have it symmetrical, first select the X and paint it on both sides. So it will be on both sides. So this can be anything like flames, whatever, but you have to download it before. So any graphics, you also cannot type names in here. This is like you have to get your name. If you want to have a name on your livery, I'll show it like this. Shimon wanted to have some few names, so I made these names, or I just typed them in GIMP or any other image editor, and then you can use them as a stencil. Make it move the car, make it a bit smaller, this, and then you basically paint it on. So it's always the same. You cannot really get graphics in here, but this is the way you will get it. I just did it very, very ugly, but you get the idea. how it works. Um, let's see if this works. Why is this? Maybe because I did it before. Let's just do another one. Okay, this one is here. Okay, two more things I wanted to show. For the base layer itself. The base layer itself can be overlaid with textures, which can produce some nice effects. So either you can have something you want to paint on completely, like I don't know, a nice pattern you want to have across your car. You can do this, or wait, I think I have one pattern I wanted to show. Livery class like this. You can over here make it a bit bigger. It's like a seamless pattern. I want to have it like repeated multiple times to make it really smaller. Put it across the whole car. We will now get rid of our gradient, but that's fine. Just going to show it to you. You can paint your patterns directly on to the left-hand side. Once I release my mouse cursor when I'm ready with everything, and the car on the right-hand side. Again, our paint mask is applied. So even though I painted the whole picture on the left-hand side, only the parts I selected before are really affected. My lines are still on top, and my sponsors are still on top. I just undo it, show you another effect, what we can do. Again, we'll make this seamless pattern a bit bigger. Just do another overlay to show you what's possible here. This is really advanced stuff already. It will come to the export. But if I want to have another layer and have some funny effects, take these hands, paint them on. It can be anything, it can be scratches, for example. I think for Tobias, I did a Deadpool livery where I want to have on some scratches, or for Adrian, the Star Wars livery. This is what I did. Now it looks a bit weird. Everything is gone, but you can say, yeah, this overlay shouldn't be mixing my color, but it should just, I don't know, multiply it. So you have all the hands multiplied, and you can even say, yeah, I don't want to have it full effect with, let's just do it light with 1.5. So now our livery is painted with hands, whatever it is. So you can add how many layers you want, play around with the effects, multiplying, linear lighting, whatever. This looks fun. Let's take this for the export, for example.
Um,
So take
just
this nice
quickly,
pic.
Miles, to your question, no graphic program really provides this. If you want to add something like the Mercedes logo spread across the car in a patterned way, you can just take the Mercedes logo as a PNG, take the multiplier as Matthias just showed to
Yeah,
very high number, and then apply it, but it won't do it in irregular intervals. You would then have to handcraft something in Photoshop or GIMP. And for those keen enough, I think I have a few tips how you can utilize GIMP in addition to Blender or whatever you want to use, just to get a bit more stuff for yourself that you can put on your car.
yeah. Yeah, so for example, car logo, yeah, you can multiply it, but as you already said, Christian, it will be like a regular pattern, nothing we want to use here. Okay, let's say we are happy now with our car. I think I showed quite a few options what you can do with your car, but now we want to get it in game. How do we do this? And if you remember the beginning, we said we have two files which are relevant for the game, the diesels and the sponsors. So we have to export two files out of this. What I want to do first is I want to do the base layer together with the overlay, because this is what I wanted to have on. And what you really see is also what you export. So if you're seeing the green, you always have to remember what you see is what you export. So make sure if you want to have these carbon parts, so everything which what we initially selected with the green color, we want to have in unpainted carbon, um, hit this base alpha. Because right now, this is what we see and this is what we want to export. How do we get this now exported? We just go over here and say bake all channels. Sometimes this check mark is in here. Make sure it's not selected. UDIM tiles. I have no idea what UDIM tiles is, but if this is selected, it won't work. It won't export. So just make sure this check mark is not set, and hit OK. What it will do, it will in the background bake your channels. It will take some time. I can hear my CPU or GPU going up next to me. So it will take a few seconds, and once it's finished, you will see on the left-hand side our baked image. What it's doing is it's taking the base gradient, it's applying our image mask on top, and our overlay on top. So this is the final result, and we want to save this. So go to Image, Save As. We are in our Era Livery class folder, and this should be the diesels.png file. This is one of the two files we want to export. Click the used bake because we don't want to use the bake channel now for the exporting again. We want to export the other ones, and I will export the lines as part of the sponsors, just for the sake of a demo. Again, what we see is what we export. So this is what we will export. Make sure not to have the green visible car. Again, bake all channels. And once it's done, you'll show up on the left side. So this is what we get. We get these sponsors, we get our lines, and we want to save this image now as our sponsors PNG. So if you look in our folder now, in our liveries folder, yeah, well, this is my Blender file. I saved it earlier, but we have these two files, sponsors and diesels, which is enough to start the game and to get something out of the car. It will have the default finish. It will both be glossy by default. I will just start my game in the background, and we can take a look at the livery, and then I can show you how you can change the finish of the car. So once ACC is started, if we have done everything correct, and if we type the folder name correct in our car definition file, we will see in our Aston that we do have our Era livery class. And here it is. Here is what we just created. So we have our base layer with our sponsors on top. Now we have the number overlaid, which is by default there. It'll go away in usually design one, and you can do your own custom number. Downside is you can't then change the rim color again. So it's always a bit of a trade-off. We will just leave it over here because the Aston has positions.
Just a short interruption there. Just as an idea for those who perhaps are looking to create their own team livery for your cars or guys you're driving with. If you want to allow everyone to have something unique, but still the same look, you could create, like here, the look itself, and have certain parts, just again like the carbon parts, cut out. And then if you were to change to a different layout, let's say it's 3, if you would do that for me for a second.
So you mean like this?
Yeah, to layout 3,
Yeah.
and then you could just take the same color on all layers beneath, and
Yeah.
let's make it pink just to make it obvious.
Yeah, and I have a pretty good example for this as well because I can show it afterwards, but I know what you
And
wanted to say.
and now
Because,
you've got
yeah,
accent colors that everybody can change directly. They can change the finish. You don't have to mess with it. It's not as much work simply. What you can also do is obviously now just click through the different designs and perhaps other
yeah,
parts that I know carbon fiber would come up in color as well.
like over
You know,
here.
This is, for example, how there is this Rexy model flying around, the Porsche, where you can change the color underneath, but
I
the
have one
teeth and
Lambo
everything is
model
there.
also. The initial model I showed, wait a second, this one. Only this, all of the pink parts are unpainted. So what you see in game, I have to search for it. Which one is it? It's like this one. You can have completely different cars out of it. So right now it's blue. If I change it to pink, all of pink, the whole car all of a sudden is pink. So you can change the complete look of the car if you leave something unpainted. Basically what Christian said, you can have the whole car in green, whereas the whole team livery might just resemble these, whatever it is. So easy way to create one livery, leave certain parts blank with the in-game color and change it in-game. It will shine through and yeah, you can change the whole car. I'm just going back here. The last thing to show is the finish. Right now it's glossy. And you can see to these two PNG files, we got the sponsors and diesel phaser files in here. Clear code 1, this is basically defining the finish of the whole car. And also in the download folder from before, where we have seen these sponsor logos, which I've showed you in the Google Drive, there are paint values. And there are chrome, glossy, matte. I don't know. For example, let's open up the metallic one. You can see there's some metallic factors. These are just examples. You can play around with it by yourself. You don't have to stick with these values. But I will just copy this over to show you how it changes the car itself. So let's take this one in metallic. And for example, let's take this for the sponsors layer and save this. And if we just go there, yeah, now we have this in metallic, the whole finish, but the sponsors and our stripes, because our stripes are on the sponsors layer, are not in glossy, but or not in metallic, but in matte. So yeah.
Something I just saw that is very important to add. Just jump back to the folder.
Yeah.
You gonna have in your livery folder, when you enter your livery folder and you have not made adjustments, every time you go into the showroom to see a livery, it's going to
Oh
create
yeah.
the DDS0 file,
Yeah.
and every time you enter a race, a DDS1 file. A lot of tutorials start with turning this off. Do ask the favor and do not do this. Why? You're going to need the DDS1 file anyways to upload it, and turning it on and off is more annoying than just simply leaving the folder open and deleting it. But if you're not deleting the DDS0 and DDS1 file when you made changes to the livery in terms of the PNGs, you will not see the changes, because this DDS file is basically a 3D wrap version of your car that is overwriting any other data in your folder. So the DDS0 is a high-scaled version for your showroom, and the DDS1 is a more compressed one that will be used on track to save, just simply to save memory. Now, if you don't do this, you're a prick. Why? It costs a lot of loading time for anyone already on the server when you're joining in with an unsynced livery where they don't have the DDS1 files. And this can lead to server lag, but certainly on join, this will create lag for anyone else already in there.
It is what Christian just said. If you go to your ACC folder in config, it is in, where is it, menu settings, config menu settings.json, search for DDF, oops, not DDF, but DDS. And there you will find this one. This is exactly what needs to be set to 1. I set it to 0 because, as Christian said, I was planning around playing with deliveries, and otherwise, if I would create the files, I wouldn't see my changes. So while working on this, yeah, you can set it to 0, but afterwards set it to 1 again, so the files are created. And you will find this in many, yeah, as tutorials or whatever videos. Okay, this is about it. Now let's quickly go to the briefing room. Thanks for vicious violence. Oh, good leg, yeah. Okay, I will just go back here because I think for the purpose of the demo, we're basically done. Could use a paint tutorial you can suggest. I missed the beginning, Flynn. Basically, it's pretty simple. It's not really much you need to do. There is no tutorial I found, but I will just show it to you very quick again. I will import a new car. You can just import as many cars as you want.
You can watch it back on Chris's channel.
Oh
The
yeah,
tutorial will be visible on his YouTube channel.
even you're completely right. Chris made a recording. It will be there, and then you can rewatch it. I don't have to explain it again. All right, let me stop my screen sharing. All right. Yeah, so I hope I could transfer some basic parts. So there's way more to show how you can select individual panels on the car, how you can make fine lines, whatever it is. But the main thing is really to try it out yourself, really see how it works, and you will get better and better with every delivery you do. So I just started, I think, 3 months ago doing my first livery, and it was just I had fun, and I was doing more and more and more, and I was discovering this plugin and was making life way easier. And then yeah, one thing led to another. But if you would have asked me like half a year ago, even what a livery is, I would say, What a livery? I have no fucking clue." Yet here we are, telling you stuff. So kind of nice. Part two, we can go way deeper, Chris. That's no problem. Anytime. Advanced course, yeah, we can do a livery basic and advanced anytime.
I would actually just add a little few things on top of this. Just because I exactly know the feeling when you want to try this out, and you might get stuck with somehow not really knowing what to do. My biggest suggestion is go to the internet. Just going to show you my like the classical thing. If somebody asks me to, let's say, do a Aston livery, I might not have done it yet, so I would just go and say, okay, Aston V8 GT3 livery. Why? I mean, I'm not trying to necessarily recreate something, but you'll find a lot of things that just come up quite often. Like the Aston quite often has the middle stripe because it suits it on the size of the nose. The Aston quite often has this yellow highlights or generally highlights along this front end.
Or we can just see a Discord Christian.
Oh, sorry. Oh, that's unfortunate. Wait, one. I cannot change it. Let's try again. Mm. Now you should see everything.
Yep.
So, like search for some references, get some ideas. Another way to really start something is perhaps you have a favorite energy drink or anything that you really like that you would like to have on the livery. For me, for example, that for once was the what was it called? God damn it! Oh yeah, 28 black. It was 28 black energy, and it was it the mint or lime? Yep, it was the lime version. So I really just like that design. So what I did is try to recreate the triangles and have the rest of the car black with some silver and gold highlights. Like something like this can be color-wise the inspiration that you need to just get starting. or to basically stick to the logo of the main sponsor of your car and then make something out of that. Don't be afraid to try out. You might, like, even at the stage that I'm at now, after 3 or 4 years of doing this, I do have to play around a bunch of times, probably 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, and scrap everything, partially start again. But you're gonna find one or two things where like, that's good. I want to keep this, recreate the next time, and you get right even a bit more and even a bit more, and then at some point you'll be there. Don't be hesitant if necessary to scrap everything and just start anew. Um, it's absolutely not a bad thing. Like, everybody does this. Remember this. Like, there's nobody just going in and being like, oh yeah, fine, let's do this and this, and then it's automatically gonna look good. No, it's not happening. The other one is, let's take this logo for example. Logo. If you're searching for logos to take as sponsors, try to search for vector, or if possible, perhaps PNG. Because as you can see now, let's take this. This is all not really PNG, but I would really like this as a clear stencil logo, like as a PNG on my car. So I just save that to your folder, and then this will be the same in Photoshop or God knows what. Open it up. Downloads, recent, and that should be it. Right, and you're gonna have a color picker tool, and it's gonna work mostly the same for every other thing as well. And I'm just gonna take this, like for Blender, you have to, not Blender, this GIMP, you have two choices. You can either pick with the wand, this would select one phase of color, like the B is a phase of color, the L, or simply all the black. Or if you're saying like you created masks and it didn't really cut out good enough, in this case I want to get rid of all the black in this picture, I can pull up this bar here, which basically dictates how much deviation from the black I'm taking away as well. Be sure to add in an alpha channel, which is basically the transparent part. Then you can delete it, and I would be able to paste, like save this as a PNG and then paste it onto the car. This is how you can take any logo or graphic you find online, convert it into a proper PNG, because at times you're obviously going to find those good old fake PNG logos where it looks like it is PNG, and then once you open up, you get the evil background with the gray and white pixels. It's yeah. So yeah,
You're basically
but
doing it exactly like I do. So I do the exact same steps, and also for the inspiration part, I can just second what you said. So I'm like the most uninspirational guy on the world. So if it comes to liveries, I always have to take a look at either awesome sim racing or pit skill, where there are lots of other liveries. Take a look at the cars and see which lines go along nicely with the individual cars, which cars have the which carbon parts and stuff like this, and then just go from there. So I can just second what you said. Don't be afraid. Just play around with it. You can't do anything wrong. And yeah, just have fun.
oh yeah, one last thing. Perhaps you want to go ahead and create something from very scratch, or like as earlier explained, just these are some tips simply for searching the right way. If you're searching for patterns that you want to have underneath, be it camouflage. Let's say you want a camouflage pattern. Make sure that you search for seamless. This is very important because if you don't take seamless, it's going to look absolutely awful. You're going to have separation lines on the car visible. And last but not least, use a very basic, this could be really even paint or something. Create a new canvas, be sure to get out the whole background. And what you could do now, what I, for example, like to do is, either with splines create a curve and then, like have some forms that you could fill. Damn it. Let's do it like so. And use this as a stencil on your car. I did this, for example, with a triangle, and just only with the triangle. I'm going to show you a different tool, but the base idea is the same. You'll find it just a bit more handy after seeing this. No, I won't find it like that. It's been too long. But most of you probably know my old Lamborghini from the last season. It's been created basically just from that one shape that I got myself as a stencil. And I started working on just plastering it over the car in different shapes and ways. Will it? Yeah. Carry. This is my final piece here. Single player. And it was these boys, for example. Like this is all shaped from one single triangle that I have, changed a little bit by changing dimensions in, let's say, Blender. Let's say I'm a paint. It doesn't really matter. But the X and Y axis, like shrinking it, stretching it, and then pasting and pasting and pasting and getting some effects. Like this is really 100% from scratch and not even, like anything refabricated. But if you see a real life livery, I do encourage, go ahead, try to recreate it. You will learn so much in the process of trying to achieve that. And if you really don't know further on how to do perhaps certain things, just ask, because we have been faced with this multiple times.
Definitely. Also, if you are in the process of trying it out and maybe you're rewatching the video from Chris's stream and something isn't working for you, just let us know. Ping me, ping Christian, and we're all happy to help and get you something nice at the end of the day.
So yeah, that concludes your livery class.
Thank you guys for attending. Thank you, Christian, for the additional input. Very helpful. Any last words? No. Any last questions? I can see a few people typing. Just thank you. All right, then, yeah, I'd say let's call it a day. Thank you, everyone, and see you on the track. Cheers. Bye.